And this thread was put out on the UFC subreddit, the Telltale bump on his stomach. The stomach is a common injection site for HGH or insulin. So we see examples here of Vitor Belfort. You see these similar bumps to Chimaev. You see this bump here. You see John Jones, these bumps, showing him here. We see Usman, who has some of the worst ones of all over the fucking place. What's up, guys? Derek from PlateSmartAids.com. Today we're going to be talking about the Telltale bump spotted on, I'm going to butcher the fuck out of this, Khamzat's stomach. So this is Khamzat Chimaev. I might be saying that way the fuck wrong, but he's an up-and-coming welterweight, I guess hybrid middleweight, presumably too, potentially. He at least wants to take on Adesanya, and he has been fucking making the rounds, dude. He's been killing every single guy he gets in the ring with easy work, dude. Like, this is his record as of now, 10-0, and he just recently had this, most recently had this rear naked choke of Lee in UFC 267, and pretty much every single fight he's done in the UFC has been by a very dominant finish. Like, it looks like he's just like the big brother to the little brother in the ring and just like bullying the fuck out of them. He literally like carries them across the ring and then beats the shit out of them or submits them. And he'll even in the last fight, he took Lee across the ring, like over to where Dana White was, like showed him the fucking guy he was carrying essentially, plopped him down, started beating the shit out of him, and then submitted him by rear naked choke. So that was the last fight he had, and he's a pretty self-confident guy. He actually had a falling out with Khabib. So this is, or Habib, I don't know how you say it, to be honest. Is the K silent? Presumably it is similar to this. I could be way wrong, but anyways, this is like a lot of you guys probably think too, when you see this guy, wow, he looks very similar to Khabib or like his teammates and just that general demographic of UFC fighter or MMA fighter or that, you know, camp. In general, they all have this similar look with the shaved head and the big beard, and they have that, you know, look as the fighters from Dagestan do. So this is what he looks like, and you know, the first thing you'd think is he has some sort of relation to Habib, and you go look into it, and apparently they had a bit of a falling out where the younger Chimaev told Khabib that he would smash him in an Instagram live. Apparently, he ended up having to apologize for it. We're all brothers. We're all Muslim brothers here. We all come from the same bloodline. At the end of the day, Khamzat, he's young. He's new to the sport. He's a good kid, man. He's a good guy. I know Khamzat very well. And at the end of the day, at the time, a lot of people took an insult to it. And I understand where Khabib's coming from and where everybody's coming from. I'm not even going to attempt this one. Took him 3 months to apologize. And this was before his scheduled fight with the welterweight Lee, who he then rear naked choked. And he is still dominating the division right now. But he's obviously has very, very high confidence in himself, literally telling one of the greatest fighters of all time he'd smash him. And supposedly they are even from the same team, essentially. Like why the fuck would you say that? Like, the guy just for no reason, like, unless it was provoked, but I don't really see any evidence that it was. Could be wrong on that. But anyways, this guy's undefeated. He is a new up-and-coming exciting fighter. And this thread was put out on the UFC subreddit, the Telltale bump on his stomach. The stomach is a common injection site for HGH or insulin. So we see examples here of Vitor Belfort. You see these similar bumps to Chimaev. You see this bump here. You see John Jones, these bumps, showing him here. We see Usman, who has some of the worst ones of all over the fucking place. So I'm going to give my opinion shortly, but some of these comments are, let's see what some of the comments say. Secret juice make you strong. Cool face and jacket. I fucking love Costa so much, whether intentional or not. Dude is so funny. Fact, he cracks me up like no other with the shit he says. Haha. Strong and jacket. Makes sense. No, actually, it doesn't make sense. He's quoting Paulo King of Bitches Costa. After that Russian doping scandal of a 15-year-old girl, I wouldn't be surprised to hear that any athlete is juicing. What a load of bullshit that was to pass his Olympic test, but fucking Rusada flags her. What the fuck? Olympic tests allow you to fail twice before it become public, if I remember rightly. They don't allow you to fail twice. They allow you to have whereabouts failures twice. It's a bit different. We can get into that separately, by the way. 15-year-old girl prescribed heart medication. Took her grandpa's medicine by accident. Everyone's on steroids. They're just using whatever loopholes exist. Exactly. More money, better research to get around the testing. Everyone's on PEDs. I don't know why people get mad over it. All right. So pretty, I don't know, I guess a popular subreddit thread. A lot of people are debating over this and seeing, I don't know, I guess it being from him being from Russia doesn't help the situation very much because they have a pretty tainted reputation and people assume the worst, you know, when they see this kind of shit. So what exactly are these bumps? Is this an HGH injection or an insulin injection? What kind of performance advantage would that give him? Well, so first of all, like I would have to dig into this guy's historical, like everything about him to give it like a complete natty or not claim based on, you know, historical progression, anything in regards to the scrutiny of the previous leagues he's fought in, moving into the UFC, what kind of fights he's been doing in terms of what weight cutting was involved, if any, like all this kind of shit is relevant in these situations. But in general, what I can say off the bat is this is similar to what we see in a lot of bodybuilders. For example, Sadiq Hadzovic, a sauce out of his fucking tree, classic physique, Olympian, a former Olympian. He was once top of the food chain men's physique competitor. Obviously, all the guys at the Olympia men's physique cranked out of their fucking mind. Classic physique, that as well. So here he is, and you can see these similar marks on his stomach here. So you see the abdominal separation, but then he has these marks here. Despite the fact that he's shredded, he has like these clear little bumps all over the fucking place. Here he is, again, with a different angle. You see this clear bump right here. It's the same kind of bump we see in this picture of Vitor, same picture we see of John Jones, Kamaru, and Chimaev. So what exactly are these? Are these indicative of steroid use, insulin use, HGH use? It's actually none of the above. This is in fact a lipoma. Quick side tangent to bring you a note from one of our most prevalent sponsors on the channel. This is Seed Synbiotic. If you have not seen Seed before, where you been, bro? I've been talking about them for a while now. They are the daily synbiotic that I use. It's a pre and probiotic formula, not to be confused with just a probiotic. This is something that, to be honest, is not very well understood, you know, how to formulate a good one, nor is the gut microbiome an area that's understood well at all either. And there is a lot of like predatory, like gut tests and like random weird products on the market that otherwise take advantage of the lack of understanding of the literature. And for me, to be honest, it's an area I didn't really understand either. So when I don't understand something, I defer out to individuals who actually do this as their like main niche / area of expertise. And for me, the first time I heard of Seed was on a podcast I listened to called Ben Greenfield Podcast. And the owner of Seed had like a big smorgasbord kind of presentation of why this is a superior formulation. Got me really interested in the brand. At the time, they weren't shipping to Canada. More recently, though, they started shipping to Canada. And in addition to that, I found out that one of my close friends, Leo from the Super Physiological Man podcast, you might have seen him before. He is somebody who's battled with Crohn's and other gut issues in the past. Or I guess it's a perpetual battle, like all the time. And that's why you have to maintain like an on-point regimen with diet, supplementation, etc. And he used Seed and highly recommended it too. So for me, it was kind of like, I had heard enough people recommend it at that time. I was like, okay, if I'm going to be spending my money on a probiotic formula, I'm going to be picking something that is people I actually trust are using and has literature that's supported in humans rather than like random rat models and whatnot. So this, in addition to that, featured a prebiotic complex. So for me, it was kind of like a two birds, one, I don't know, like 4 birds, 1 stone with the like people talking about it, the podcast I had heard, actually convincing me with some of the literature they presented, the fact that it was a pre and probiotic formula. So anyways, that was the reason I hopped on it. And then, you know, after that, they actually reached out to me to sponsor the show, which is a podcast or what is this? A channel, you know, I guess this isn't a podcast. It's just a normal video. So they wanted to sponsor this thing, you know, the channel. So I was like, damn, that's cool. Cause I actually use their stuff already. So what is it exactly? I kind of mentioned a brief summary of what it is. It's a 2-in-1 capsule, pre and probiotic. It supports gut health, skin health, like general broad spectrum health, and a bunch of other things, including the support of the interaction between the gut-brain axis, which again, something I didn't really understand very much either, but we've come to learn is pretty damn important from all of the random issues that stem from, leaky gut issues, like gut barrier integrity, stuff like that. A lot of people deal with like autoimmune issues and a lot of like even brain fog, inflammation. A lot of stuff stems from the gut that people just don't realize. So basically this product that has 24 clinically and scientifically studied strains, first of its kind, not to mention it is delivered sustainably every month. Like it comes with this glass jar, and then you get monthly refills in compostable, biodegradable, recyclable packaging. So for me, basically, again, I kind of mentioned the summary of why I take it as my go-to formula. And for me, again, this is something that I'm not super well educated in. So ultimately I defer out to people I trust and what I should be taking. And for me, there was more benefits to be had that convinced me to use it other than just, is your poo like good quality or not, which actually is a pretty important indicator of health, believe it or not. But above and beyond that, like nutrient assimilation, there's a big bullet point list. So basically a lot of people just think of, do I have diarrhea or not as an indicator of, is your gut healthy? Other systemic benefits are offered from having supporting a healthy gut microbiome. Some of those things, gastrointestinal health. So the main thing, supports digestive health to maintain regularity, ease bloating, and can alleviate occasional constipation. Other benefits, gut barrier integrity, helps maintain healthy gut barrier function and integrity. In addition, gut immune function, supports healthy gut immune function and crosstalk between immune and intestinal cells. Cardiovascular health, promotes heart health, supports healthy intestinal recycling of cholesterol and bile. Dermatological health, supports healthy skin, and micronutrient synthesis, something that I think often goes overlooked by the fitness industry too, is making sure you're actually using the nutrients you are ingesting efficiently. So supporting folate, B9 production via intestinal synthesis of bioactive forms of folate, and just ensuring, highly encouraging your nutrients to get assimilated in a maximal way. Because obviously just taking this, by the way, is not going to make up for a bad diet, obviously, at the end of the day. So ultimately, that's the reason why I got it. There was just, I was already looking into this stuff to begin with, and this seemed like the most viable option. So that's what I hopped on. Now they're a supporter of the channel too, which is super cool. Anything I use, I would like to be able to be sponsored by, ultimately. It's like the most no-brainer connection for me. So if you guys want to give it a shot, you can check out the link in the description below. It's going to will bring you to the site, and then at checkout you can use coupon code Derek to get 15% off your first month supply of Seeds Daily Synbiotic. Just click the link in the description below to get started. And that's it. Going back to our regularly scheduled programming now. This is a fatty deposit that's very slow growing. It's essentially a benign tumor. This is something that is non-carcinogenic, or at least you'd hope so. As far as I know, the majority of them, if not all of them, are essentially benign, and they are just slow growing like fat deposits in the subcutaneous layer. So this is something that is genetic to some extent as well. I don't know if it's diet related, if it's any, a lot of it is genetic predisposition at the end of the day. And the reason you can see it in these guys mainly is because they're so lean. So when you have this mark up here, these bumps all over the fucking place, it's a result of your lack of body fat and lack of subcutaneous water too for a lot of these guys doing heavy weight cuts. And you see any sort of abnormalities appear on the surface of the skin, whereas otherwise they would have been shrouded in fat and water. So for Sadiq, the reason it's so prominent is because the guy's literally fucking shredded to the bone. This guy's peeled out of his mind. Look at this shit. This guy is dicey to the fucking socks. Nuts. Just absolutely nuts conditioning here. And he has, these prevalent marks that pop up. And in reality, they're like little fucking nodules of fat at the end of the day. Why would that be the case though? Why are they up here, not here? How do you know it's not HGH and insulin? Reason being is you would never inject your HGH and insulin up here at the top of your stomach. Down here is where you would inject, intramuscular is in general where you would pin oil-based compounds like anabolic androgenic steroids, things of this nature, but water-based things where you mix, for example, when you get human growth hormone or you have insulin, these are water-based peptides essentially, where you can mix them with bacteriostatic water if they haven't been reconstituted yet, or they come constituted already. And water-based stuff is going to get absorbed. You can pin it intramuscular, of course, but the most tolerable way of avoiding scar tissue buildup and having, just getting good absorption. It's kind of unnecessary to pin it intramuscular unless you're trying to get a faster onset of drug effect. So hypothetically, if you're trying to avoid doping, you might intramuscular shoot your insulin or your HGH or your whatever, depending on the circumstance. Sometimes the pharmacokinetic profile will not make it actually clear faster if you do it intramuscular. It kind of depends on the situation. But anyways, like in general, if you pin something intramuscular, fat is going to take longer to absorb something. So it's why you can alter the kind of like half-life of a testosterone, for example, if you pinned it into your subcutaneous fat layer, because this is an oil-based compound that takes a long time to otherwise, cleave the ester and get fully absorbed into the serum. And when you're introducing it into fat tissue, you're just making it more difficult for your body to break it down, essentially. Whereas for, water-based compounds, there's a bit of a paradoxical relationship where it's not just because you're injecting something, it goes into the same area and any area seems to work. You would never pin even your gear up here. Like this is just a weird area to pin because you can't do a deep intramuscular shot in your abdominal. In addition to that, there's not as much fat there for you to inject water-based compounds into. So that is why any insulin user would attest to this, any peptide user, any bodybuilder would attest to this, is you would inject your insulin here in the side of your stomach. Now, again, this isn't mandatory. This is something that is just the preferred area of administration along the kind of like most fat part of your waistline. You have like your gut area, which has the most fat deposit accumulation, which is the easiest area to pinch the subcutaneous layer and jab water-based compounds into. So here we have the most viral video on how to inject insulin 6 years ago. I can predict with pretty reasonable accuracy it's going to be pinned in the stomach fat. However, it's not going to be up here. It's going to be much lower. And let's see. There you go. So right there on the side of the stomach. Now, obviously, the leaner you are, you might have to pinch the subcutaneous layer to get a sufficient amount of fat to fucking, get in there. But most people, the average American, is going to be pinning it, like this on the side, and they can do it even without having to pinch because, most people are obese at the end of the day. A significant amount of them. So for them, yeah, like I could understand why somebody would say, oh, this is definitely, HGH or insulin or whatever, because you just assume this is a general area where people pin shit. And look, it's a remnant deposit of it that hasn't absorbed properly or whatever. It's scar tissue or something. But at the end of the day, the only place any of these guys would have pinned this shit is, for example, Usman would be like here isn't even like a logical spot. Like you might do it, but it's not ideal. You would be doing something like pinching around here where the most fat accumulates. And you would be pinning to the left and the right side of your belly button. You would never be going above into your abdominal region that is leaner. It just doesn't make sense. And you would, if you were trying to avoid drug detection, like the likelihood of something going awry is much higher when you're going to an area that would not as easily absorb the whatever you're injecting into it. So again, if you have really low subcutaneous fat in an area of your stomach versus high, or at least proportionally less, you're not going to put it into an area where you can like barely pinch the fucking skin. So for these guys, these, in my opinion, are all lipomas. I do not think this is indicative of HGH or insulin use. And I think it is simply the result of getting that lean and dry. You can see his fucking serratus here dialed in. The guy is very, very lean. He's like 6'2" at 170, I think, on weigh-in day. And then he shows up and he, super compensates a little bit and gets a bit more water in his system and whatnot, gets more glycogen, etc. But again, you're still going to be like pretty fucking lean on show day in the ring, and you're going to have abnormalities that are, typically shrouded in the sub-Q layer showing pretty prominently. So that's also why gyno is so apparent leading up to a fight. Guys like Israel, the most like pretty problematic gyno. And that guy's gyno is, fluctuating largely because of his changes in body fat, I think. In the off season, it's not as prominent. Obviously, due to temperature changes and shit too, will make a difference in terms of how prominent it is and how much it's like, relaxed versus like constricted, because these are vascularized tissues at the end of the day. But ultimately, the leaner you are, the more apparent random stuff is going to be, because it's going to be closer to the surface of the skin than it would otherwise be if it's shrouded in fat and water. So that's what I think it is. I do not think this is indicative of HGH or insulin. I think it is simply a lipoma. I do not think it's evidence of anything. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think this guy has what it takes to win the welterweight title? Do you think he has what it takes to take on the middleweight belt? with Adesanya. What do you think the future for, how do you say his name again? Chimaev is? He is a pretty, I don't know, exciting fighter to watch. And right when he gets in the ring, he just fucking shoots for it and goes for it. And I don't know, he's kind of like reminds me of like a skinny Costa a little bit, you know? Like, well, I guess Costa is more like a stand and, you know, bangs with people rather than takes a guy down and tries to just like submit him or beat the fuck out of him. So it's a bit different, but in terms of his aggression and the level of just like pushing the pace and moving forward, that's what this guy is. He's just like a goddamn a berserker dude. Like the guy just starts the fight and it's like, you're going to get double legged like immediately. That's what this guy's like. So anyways, let me know what you guys think is next for him and where he stands in the ranks, what you think the future holds for him, and if he has title potential. All the comments help the algorithm and are much appreciated. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplaysmore8.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplaysmore8, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok. I'm just saying a bunch of platforms I don't even know if I'm on right now. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. TikTok is a bit of a problematic one. I might be on it right now, I might not be. They're pretty fucking not lenient with their bans over there. You know, you have a little underage chick shake her ass on the platform, they seem to be cool with it. But if you have a guy post a fucking clip with Dan Bilzerian during a podcast, apparently it's too raunchy, bro. Too much swear words. I don't know. So that's it. Go follow me on the other platforms, as well as if you want to support me, you can check out anything I own or am affiliated with in the video description below. My preventative medicine and HRT clinic for high quality blood work, interpretation of that blood work, and subsequent medical oversight if warranted. It's the best place to go if you want to get high quality doctor care and or just get self-service labs. We have the most cost-efficient blood test panels with the highest sensitivity of assays, which will actually give you accurate interpretations of your hormone levels, your biomarkers, health parameters, etc., for determining the best path forward for optimization. As well, Gorilla Mind, nootropic formulas, Gorilla Mode, pre-workout formulas designed myself from scratch, my recommended diet model for gaining muscle and strength, whilst being mindful of micronutrient intake and like overall health and sports performance. Recommended hair loss prevention products, anything else I'm associated with, it's all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.